of yours got into the corn.
Did they drink much?
I reckon they did. This here little fella was kicking blue blazes out of the mule.
If there ever was a fish out of water story for the ages, it's the Beverly Hillbillies. We all dream of finding treasure, striking oil, or winning the lottery. But the Clampetts prove that the journey doesn't always end there. Talk about a culture shock. For both the Clampetts, but even more so for their new neighbors. And speaking of shocks, you won't believe just how messy and complicated things got behind the scenes. Did you know the series was just as loved as it was hated? And what do the Clampetts have to do with Levi jeans? Throw in a little John Wayne and you've got me hooked. I'm your host, Nostalgic Nick Clampett. So let's settle in, because we're heading to Beverly Hills. If you enjoy this deep dive, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode. Striking crude. Jed Clampett wasn't the only one who struck crude. Oil, that is. Show creator Paul Henning didn't mean to stumble across his biggest break. Back in 1959, he visited some Civil War era sites with his mother while touring through the South. From there came the idea of doing it in reverse. Bring a true country spirit into one of the most modern and culturally different areas. Originally, the Clampetts were going to end up in New York City, but the logistics didn't line up. So Beverly Hills it was. A critical miss. Ever watch something and think how great it is, only to hear that it got slammed by the critics? For a prime example, look no further than these hillbillies. Their reviews will differ from that of regular viewers. Now, critics are so-called professionals whose job it is to give assessments of new TV shows, or whatever their expertise is. And boy, did they have a lot to say. When the Beverly Hillbillies came out, critics called it everything from strained and unfunny to, quote, painful to sit through.
Give him a knuckle sandwich!
Its humor was even called the lowest of its kind. That's harsh, and someone should have probably informed the millions who watched these hillbillies for a whopping 9 seasons.
The minute you get a good thing, everybody wants in on it.
Unprecedented hit. The show's ratings were off the charts. After just 6 weeks being on air, the Beverly Hillbillies became the most watched program on TV. And it didn't stop there. From 1962 to 64, the show frequently enjoyed on average 57 million viewers. Some episodes in 64 became the most watched of any series in the whole decade. Specifically, the episode titled The Giant Jackrabbit, which managed to become one of the most watched half-hour episodes of anything ever. And it did so while airing the same day as President Johnson's State of the Union address. Tough competition. Carry a tune. We could all use some patented Clampett luck. They defied critics' reviews and got killer ratings. And on top of that, they even became musical icons.
Come and listen to my story about a man named Jed. A poor mountaineer barely kept his family fed.
The Beverly Hillbillies theme song is formally called The Ballad of Jed Clampett. And producers recruited the Foggy Mountain Boys, a country bluegrass group founded by Flatt and Scruggs, with Jerry Scoggins singing Jed's tale. And it was a union that worked for everybody. The tune became synonymous with the show and gave the band their first #1 hit, topping the country charts in '63, and even making it to number 44 on the pop charts. And when the movie remake started production in 1993, Scoggins actually reached out to the studio to see if they wanted him to collaborate again. And the studio informed him that they didn't know he was still alive. Putting his foot down. Part of the whole draw behind the Beverly Hillbillies was the extreme contrast between the Clampetts and their community. But Buddy Ebsen had his limit. In fact, he was initially hesitant to take the role and only agreed to if Jed was rewritten. He insisted that sure, Jed wasn't traditionally educated, but that his character not be made as foolish or dumb.
You mean to tell me you shoot flies sitting on that wall out there?
No, that wouldn't be sport. We'd get him on the wing.
So his character was changed to showcase the importance of street smarts and possessing a deeper kind of wisdom that shows up unexpectedly. And in turn, show creators tweaked Jethro, giving him the truly painfully dumb lines.
When you make your speech, hold this up.
Just like Grandma used to make it. Irene Ryan as Granny could easily steal a scene, and who could complain? She was outrageous in everything she did, and with each word out of her mouth.
Now you got a bad-tempered goober.
Now, if only someone could tell her that laughter is the best medicine, maybe she'd give up on that whole white lightning stuff. Of course, one of her other quirks was finding use in everything. Absolutely everything, even roadkill, or vittles as she used to dress it up as. Well, if you ever wanted the zany Clampett matriarch to teach you how to cook, you're in luck. Granny's Beverly Hillbillies cookbook is full of recipes inspired by the show. It even has a foreword written by Max Baer, Jethro himself, as a little informal seal of approval. Loving Levi's. Even before Daisy Duke wore those famous denim Daisy Duke cutoffs, there was already a country girl next door named Ellie Mae Clampett, who was certainly many people's crush in the 1960s. And Donna Douglas perfectly played Ellie, with her mountain beauty and plenty of fire to take on any challenge. She was definitely someone you wanted on your side, and not your enemy, because she could wrestle anyone starting trouble. And as it turned out, Levi Jeans called her an ally. She was apparently huge for the company, even if accidental. Supposedly, one exec even said Donna Douglas alone did more for the sale of jeans in 1 year than a century of cowboys had before her. Not a Barbie girl. Film and TV and toy production inevitably have a close relationship with one another. If your show has cool characters, certainly there should be action figures and dolls made of them. Money, money, money. And with the Beverly Hillbillies continuing to shine in popularity, one latest Barbie doll looked oddly familiar, with her bright gold pigtails and stylish jeans. So when Donna Douglas found her Ellie Mae Barbie, she was not happy because she hadn't been consulted, or more importantly, compensated when they used her image. So Donna Douglas sued and did win a settlement of some unknown amount back in 2011. Pour one out for the Duke. Granny got her wish during a very special episode of the Hillbillies. After hoping and hoping for an appearance by John Wayne himself, the Duke finally showed up to turn her scowl upside down.
Understand you were looking for me. I'm John Wayne.
It wasn't a particularly huge role, so what convinced John Wayne to visit Beverly Hills? He didn't want any money. All he asked for was for some bourbon as payment. Classic Duke. And as a side note, have you ever tried the Duke's bourbon? It's pretty delicious, as I do declare. The Mansion. Now this is a story all about how some hillbillies' lives got turned upside down. Wait a second, that's the wrong show. While of course the Clampetts were the stars of the show, their mansion sometimes felt like a character of its own. It was the perfect, opulent contrast to their simple, rustic ways. Turns out there is a mansion at 750 Bel Air Road named the Kirkaby Mansion, which dates all the way back to the 1930s. Back then, in the throes of the Great Depression, no less, it was built at the cost of a humble $2 million. That covered the 21,000 square feet of property, a waterfall, landing pad, and elevator. And once it was sold to Arnold Kirkaby, he rented it out to the Beverly Hillbillies production for $500 a day. That's pocket change for Jed. And in 2007, the house sold for $30 million. And all fans who want to visit it from their homes can spot the mansion in the Sylvester Stallone film Over the Top. The Rural Purge. How did all those redemption funds, stocks, and bonds dry up for those millionaire hillbillies? Plenty of other shows got tired of themselves, or the actors wanted to avoid typecasting, or the show simply overstayed its welcome and jumped the shark. But not so in the case of the Beverly Hillbillies. They were enjoying some solid ratings near its end, but along came the 1970s, and with them a change of scenery. The Rural Purge, as it's now known, saw shows go from the rustic, quaint types of homey specials like Hillbillies and Lassie into something bigger, more populated, and closed in like MASH. This was to appeal to a growing demographic of younger viewers that advertisers were hoping to persuade. So CBS launched a campaign all about, as actor Pat Buttram put it, quote, canceling every show with a tree in it. That meant Green Acres, Lassie, Petticoat Junction, and These Hillbillies were just some of the programs CBS canceled in The Purge. And for more about the Rural Purge, check out our entire video detailing the fall of some of those rustic classics. And so the time came to say goodbye to Jed and all of his kin, perhaps a premature end to an unexpected television titan. You know, a Beverly Hills sunset is almost as pretty as one in the Ozarks. But while today reaches an end, tell us what surprised you the most about the Beverly Hillbillies, and what was a great episode of this series that you recall. Get in those comments and let's discuss. We want to hear from you. And if you enjoyed going back to Beverly Hills with us, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps a lot. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a memory. From all of us here at Do You Remember?
Y'all come back now. Here.